Okie dokie, let's call to order the select board meeting of July 25th. We'll start with the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty then, so, first order of business is to approve the manifests and accounts payable. So you
I will make a motion that we approve the accounts payable manifest of July 18th, 2016, and the payroll manifest of July 19th, 2016.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're gonna take us through this stuff afterwards, right? Cool.
It's just FYI on this group purchasing.
Yeah, it was addressed to you and they're gonna let us know.
This way.
Lot going on at the library.
Yeah, it's nice to get that
Yeah.
snapshot. All right, now we need to, approve outstanding minutes of, July 11th, 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of July 11th, 2016.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Also the non-publics of that date
Yeah, same date.
as amended.
Yep.
What's that?
The non-public from July. I'll do it. I'll make a motion that we approve the non-public minutes from July 11th, 2016 as amended.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. BOS reports from assigned boards and committees. Anything from planning?
We've got, so now we're on the same week.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got a lot line adjustment in front of us and a subdivision, small 2-lot, 1-lot subdivision. And then we're going to be, public hearing for the site plan regulations are tomorrow night, Wednesday night as well, I believe.
What's, has anything happened with the impact fees study?
It's in process,
Okay,
yeah, and the school has submitted their information
okay,
that was requested by the consultant.
okay. Excellent. I attended, well, Chris and I both attended, budget committee,
Mm-hmm.
last Thursday. Chris presented our, financials,
the school board presented theirs. There was nothing outstanding that came out of that. It was all, you know, pretty, reviews both went pretty smoothly. Tony Dubus is the new chair. Mike Keister is the new vice chair, and Mike is also going to be the CIP rep. The school appointed a CIP rep, but I still don't know who it is, so I'm waiting to find that out. Nothing else came out of that meeting, right? Okay.
Where did the school end up? Did you get a hard number on that? I don't know if,
I think it was about 300K
coming back.
come back, yep. Yep. 200 to 300, yep. Okay, that's it for boards and committees, right? Okay, town administrator report?
Let's see, we, this morning, got our, essentially the final draft of our 2015 audit, all clean, no surprises. Just need you to review and sign that verification letter, whatever it's called.
Which you sent along.
Yeah, that's a relatively new feature where the elected officials are vouching for them as well. You know, that's one of those, you know, since the financial crisis, the accountants have figured out how to make more people responsible for things.
Yeah.
That's what's going on there. Betsy's looked over the number side of things, and that all looks as we had it, and looks pretty good, so it's ready when you are.
Any, what's your deadline on that?
There's no hard deadline. I mean, we have a state deadline at some point, but
Okay.
it's not,
So I'll try
not
to,
a hot rush.
I just wanna look at it, it'll be either tomorrow or.
Yeah, that's fine. I sent you some info on the winning candidate for the admin assistant job at the PD. And she's gonna start, she's already given her notice at her other job, and she's ready to roll on the 8th.
Wow.
Great,
And they're all happy with that. They had a good pool. They had a good bunch to work through, and
yeah.
are happy with where they ended up.
Great.
We just got the results of our, what we think is our first ever Department of Labor Safety inspection. We had an inspection a few weeks ago. They told us they'd never been here before.
Wow.
So I went around with them through this building, fire department, police department, highway garage, recycling center, salt shed.
All one day?
Yep.
Wow.
And the results of that were pretty good. We have a punch list of things, you know, a handrail and a stairway at the recycling center, and some eye wash testing things, and relatively minor things at the highway garage. Got to move things away from one of the panels, and all pretty achievable for not a lot of money. So we were all pleasantly, not to say surprised, but you know, those things
Yeah,
can be
that's
kind of
good.
wild cards. We do have one problem outside of this building with some of the bricks out there that are popping up, and I'm not sure how we're gonna fix that yet, but the walkway that runs along the length of this building has got some trip hazards in
Trip and
it.
fall hazards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the only one I haven't figured out how to fix yet. But overall, all very achievable, and they should leave us alone for a long time, I would think.
Good.
The solar RFQ went out today. School board's on board, made a couple of tweaks to the language, and superintendent's ready to go with that, so the deadline is early September. If there's anybody in the public that wants to sit in on those interviews with firms to weed through those, I'd be happy to have any eyes and ears if any of you are interested in it. Don't have a schedule for it yet, but
Okay.
I hope to come back to you in mid-late September with somebody to work with, and that will give us time for town meeting.
Okay. Great.
And you mentioned CIP. Department heads are starting to turn those things in, we'll be ready for you when you wanna set up a meeting. We have to do that now, but,
Yeah.
we should keep that moving, 'cause the budget season's coming up. Yep. And that is it.
Anything on Marston?
We are waiting for the design work to be based on that, survey work that we did. We got the survey results, and we're, trying to move that along, but we're getting it for free, so it's one of those,
Yeah.
you know, going as fast as we can, but.
All right, no more reports. What do you have some things for us to sign?
Yeah, we have 3 or 4 things. The moderator has asked that you appoint a slew of inspectors of election, the ballot clerks essentially.
Pretty much all the same we've had in the past.
Yeah, all the folks that worked at the last election, we're reappointing them. It's a
Yeah.
formality. They may still need some more, so if there's anybody that wants to do that work, they can contact the moderator. We have primaries in September, general election in November, town meeting,
Yep,
and then nothing again until 2018.
yep.
So that's that. The tax collector has asked that we give him a few extra days, in case something goes wrong with the system or the weather or anything, to post the liens. It's another formality that we do every 6 months. And there's a motion there for you. And there's also the appointment of Paul Miliotis to the Conservation Commission. He's been an alternate and is stepping up to fill a vacancy that occurred a couple months ago. He's been here before you with them, if you haven't met him.
I
So,
think the last time they were here, they introduced.
He was here, yeah. He sat out in the back, but he was here.
what Bill is asking to extend the 2016 lien date from Thursday, September 15th to Monday, September, are there any issues with that?
No,
Nothing?
no, it's just, he doesn't have the authority to not do it on time
Okay.
without your blessing, and if, it's just a safeguard. There's no,
Okay,
he had some trouble with some of the mortgage processor, one of the mortgage processors. You know, a lot of folks that escrow their tax payments, they end up washing through a clearinghouse firm, and he had a lot of trouble this time around, this tax issue with one firm, but he's through that.
Okay.
So everything should be fine.
okay.
He just does this every 6 months, just in case.
Okay.
Oh, so you want a motion on?
Yes, please.
Tax lien? I'll make a motion that the board authorizes the tax collector to extend the 2016 lien date from Thursday, September 15th, 2016 to Monday, September 19th, 2016.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
And then we have to sign
You
it.
guys wanna sign? No appointments tonight.
To make some up.
No, that's okay. No need to. Okay. All right, and then this is Conservation Commission appointment.
You should move and vote that as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Need a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Paul Miliotis, that's how you pronounce it, thank you, as a member of the Conservation Commission.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along. General business. You wanna take us through these, Chris?
Yeah, you just did A, the tax lien extension. B, roofing bids you got electronically. Those closed last Wednesday. We solicited, I don't know, maybe a dozen companies, 10, anyway.
Paul's got a list.
Yeah, he's got a huge list. We got 6 back, which was great. Paul's gone through everything, made sure everything lines up apples to apples, checked references, and has recommended Pride Roofing out of Raymond. Bids came in under budget, quite a bit under budget, which is great. We've got, the library is a pretty straightforward, replace the shingles operation, not that complex. Over the PD, we've had an ongoing problem around the personnel doors on the north side of the building. There's one next to the Sally Port, and there's the main one outside the chief's office. We've had ongoing problems with ice there. Being the north side of the building, over time they've tried things like heat wire, and it's a not last winter, but the winter before, when the snowpack on the roofs was real bad and the ice was real bad. We actually had to close one of those doors because the ice buildup was a pretty significant safety hazard. So what we're going to explore over the next couple of weeks is constructing something over those doors outside the building, but some kind of awning, something or other. If we've got room here, budget-wise, to do that. The roof is the primary concern. We've had some leaks over the PD, and the shingles have had it, but we really don't have a solution yet for those personnel doors. So if we can do that within what we have left over here, I think we're gonna try and do that. We gotta see what the numbers look like on that. What ends up happening is there's huge glaciers that hang off the roof right over the personnel doors, and we have trouble with the Sally Port door sometimes too because of the ice. So rather than just fill up the gutters with ice again, we're gonna see if we can come up with something else. So I'll have more on that in a couple of weeks, but hopefully that'll be a permanent solution to that problem.
So the bids came in significantly under what was budgeted.
Yep.
That's nice.
Yeah, and all we budgeted on was really one local guy that does a lot of different work, done some work for the town, kind of ballparking it for us.
Yeah.
So, we don't wanna miss the budget by that much, but,
Well, that's all right. That's
Yeah.
good. So what do you need from us on that?
just your blessing to move forward. It was a public bid process, so it's good to kind of close that in public with your,
Do you need a
approval.
formal motion, or do you just need verbal?
I think your consent is probably sufficient.
Any questions, anyone?
No, that does say on there that they can provide insurance.
Yeah, we'll check that
Their
before, as
certificate,
part of the
so
contracting process.
Other than
Yeah.
that, I think that, yeah,
Yeah, Pride out of Raymond has done work for a number of municipalities in addition to private companies. And Paul got a couple raving reviews, so we're comfortable with that.
good.
Good, all right. So be it.
Okay.
When will they start?
Don't know. We haven't told them that they've won yet. so-
Probably before winter it will be done?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, moving along, the fun one. You wanna do PLIA funding request
Sure.
first?
Yeah, you got a request from D. Decker of the PLIA for a disbursement from the new capital reserve fund, we used to, just budget,
right.
money for this.
Right, that's why it's different this year.
That's why it's different this year. Normally, we would, just kind of go ahead with it, but you are the named agents of that fund, so you need to, formally act on that. That's roughly the same amount of money as a 4,000, right?
Yeah, it's the same as what we.
Same as what we've always done, and that was our intention in the budget process, was to continue that same level of support and then
Yeah.
set some aside for response.
Yeah.
You're probably closer in tune with the milfoil situation, but,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had any significant updates on it since we last met. I know DES has been out there at least 3 times. The residents have done an excellent job, I think, of avoiding that area. You know, to the extent that many of us with pontoon boats and awnings, you know, if we wanna go to that end of the lake, we head toward the bridge, lower the awning onto the bridge, raise it back up again, so, and I've seen a number of people doing that, so I think the traffic in that channel area is significantly minimized. I haven't had a more recent update on, you know, how they're doing with the growth. But this request is one, you know, it's consistent with what we've done in the past. It comes every year after, you know, the second tax bills. And that goes towards, that'll end up going to New Hampshire Lakes, who administers the payroll for the program.
Do we need a motion for this, or?
Yep.
Make a motion that we give the $4,000, to the Tuckaway Lake Improvement Association.
Just double check, cause I think the check,
Well, the invasive
I think it goes
species.
to New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think you
Lakes.
want, the motion should be to withdraw the 4,000 from the invasive species eradication fund
Yeah,
yeah, for that purpose.
for that purpose.
Yeah.
For the Lake Host program.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Nice job, Tyler.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, Chris, let's have some fun.
Okay. So I was losing track of everything, so I made up a cheat sheet for you
Oh, good.
of the various,
That was busy.
I'm regretting that we
Sundry-
made this one of his objectives.
It's good. It's
No, I
cleaning
agree,
up a lot of,
100%.
I don't mind.
and we can tackle whatever you feel comfortable with. The one that we're closest on is the winter road maintenance,
Yeah.
winter inclement weather road maintenance policy.
Yeah, and I think I was the only one that asked to hold off on this.
Out of your discussion 2 weeks ago, we made a couple edits, and that's the version that you had
Yeah.
most recently.
The only thing that stuck out on me is 8A. This seemed a little confusing to me. Town assumes no responsibility for damage to private property, blah, blah, blah. It then goes on to explain the right-of-way. And then the last part of it says, homeowners may extend lawns, plants, trees, or shrubbery, or erect fences or stone walls in these areas, which might be intended to improve appearance, but which may obstruct or interfere with the maintenance being conducted on the roadway, including winter maintenance. So basically, it's saying that they can do that, but it's not saying what, you know, what's the implications. I mean, basically what you're saying is, you can do that, but there's no guarantee, because it's in the right-of-way, that something isn't gonna happen to it, right?
Yeah. It's at risk.
That doesn't read to me that way.
Yeah.
So I just think there needs to be some clarification there. Or that needs to be said first, and then the rest of what you have there kind of clarifies that.
Yeah, I think it's just switch that sentence to the beginning.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
then the right of way,
yeah,
and then, or maybe it's, yeah, maybe it's, no, it would be the right of way, so it explains the right of way. Then the homeowners may plant in that right of way, but it's to their risk,
yeah.
and the town assumes no responsibility.
Exactly. I think that would read better and clearer.
So the right of way, then the homeowners, then the,
Town.
yeah.
Okay, so essentially move that first long sentence to the end,
Yes,
Yes, yep,
okay?
yep. Yep.
yep, that was the easy way to do it, wasn't it?
All right. Did you guys have anything else? I mean, I think you guys both commented on it at our last meeting.
Yeah, I think we make a motion based on that edit.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
motion's pending.
Yeah,
Yeah, so go ahead.
okay, so I'll
Before
make.
you start that,
Okay, yeah.
could you incorporate the
Oh,
repeal
the
of
repeal,
that?
right,
That is the old one, it's, most of what's said in there is incorporated in the new, more complex policy. So if you do
Okay.
both at the same time, then,
so I'm gonna make a motion that we repeal the. Are you good?
yeah, sorry, I was
Okay,
just
no, that's
looking at the
fine.
weather.
Right, it's raining, I didn't know. Nobody has their windows open, right, in their cars?
Too late
No,
now.
We're all good, okay. I will make a motion that we repeal the policy on winter maintenance mailboxes and other structures within the highway right-of-way dated 12/14/2004. Oh, I'm sorry, let me start over. I will make a motion that we repeal the policy on winter maintenance mailboxes and other structures within the highway right-of-way approved by the Board of Selectmen on December 13th, 2004, and that we approve the winter and inclement weather road maintenance policy as amended.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Charlene.
Yep.
All right, what do you want to do next, Chris?
Oh, you pick it, we play it.
All right, how about the notification policy? That was another easy one.
Okay.
You guys have a chance to review that one?
Yeah, and I had, sent Chris, a suggestion that we actually, take the language in this and revise it and incorporate it into the rules of procedure, and we dissolve this.
So when you say rules of procedure, you mean the select board?
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is we could kind of just restate these 7 points about what we get notified about, but just, kind of restate the first paragraph, something to the effect that,
So my only question about that is that the select board rules of procedure is a guiding document for us, for this board, right? Whereas I think this notification policy is more about being a guiding document for other departments.
agree, but I'm thinking, so here's why I was thinking the rules of the procedure, because then it's an understanding by the select, board that, the fire and this is the way that the fire and the police will notify you, is what it's kind of the way I was approaching it, so that it's, there's an understanding that, so that they don't go and call up the police and call up the fire department and,
Oh, so you're trying to prevent overzealous
yeah.
inquiries by the board? Yeah, I mean, one thing I would be concerned about is bloating of these,
Yeah,
just because, you could make an argument that basically every policy that we have could be put in here, right?
I mean, I'm good either way, really, I'm not, it's just kind of one of my thoughts when I was, looking at it.
Yeah, I think a nod to that, to this one in the procedures makes sense. You had sent some other stuff about kind of containing the communication between selectmen and other bodies. That makes sense to have something like that in the procedure side of things. The audience for this is definitely the whoever's in charge of the PD or the fire department at
Yeah.
any given moment. That's really what this is
So do we
intended
wanna
to
put
do.
like and, you know, maybe it's a line that says, you know, in the interest of efficient public management, the select board and departments will adhere to the notification policy. I mean, that's not the exact wording, but just some kind of a reference to that.
To it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In this,
in these, because I think in the select board.
yeah.
So just a reference line that refers to that policy.
Yep.
Does that work for you, Charlene?
Yes.
Okay. Yikes. Sadly, this for a couple of days.
Not quite like this,
Yeah.
but yes, we do need rain. Okay,
All right, do you need anything on that, Chris, a motion?
Well, on the whole policy, you have to amend it if you're that far along. We can come back to the procedure side.
Yeah, but on this notification policy specifically, does anybody have any changes for that?
so just to remove the extra comma. And then the other question that I had is, I wonder if we should make some kind of notation or reference to the emergency plan as well. No, I mean, I don't know. That was my other question.
What's in the emergency plan?
Whew, did you read it? It's 200 and something pages. It's a long read.
Yeah, I only got through 150.
It's basically kind of the, you know, probably a FEMA requirement, I would imagine, but there's many procedures within there, and there's many responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen in relation to some of what we do. I mean, I guess it's not necessary to have it in here, because we have, I just didn't know if it would be a kind of a reference to it, like, you know, and if it adds any value, I don't know, other than the fact that it's a reminder that we have this emergency operating plan.
I think this policy probably belongs in here rather
Yeah.
than the inverse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we could, not having read all 200 pages of it, we could be contradicting this in some way. I don't think so, but this isn't a.
yeah, because this is, kind of, this notification is more related to internal,
Right,
Yeah.
and that's very much disaster,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, whereas some of these,
It's really, the one that applies is number 5, the severe weather is where the emergency,
Or 4, yeah.
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 Yeah, 4 too, the hazardous waste. I mean, we could just put a note in there, just referencing the document as an associated document. Could be something simple as that. Like, it could be, you know, see emergency operating management plan for other notification. something
yeah,
like
I'm
Yep.
fine with that, I'm fine with
Yep.
that.
Something, just
Yeah.
to,
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
you good with that?
All right, you want a motion, as amended on that?
Yep.
Do we have to, so we have to do the same thing, we have to withdraw the,
You're just amending this policy. All you have to do is amend the original.
Okay. So I will make a motion that we amend, the notification policy, revised on July, I will make a, sorry, oh, jeepers. I will make a motion that we amend the notification policy that was approved by the Board of Selectmen on March 29th, 2010, as amended.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. Thought I was being so good, Chris, and I did not review the, community television one.
That's all right. Charlene gave me a couple questions that I don't have the answers to yet on that, so we can come back to that one.
All right. Okay. Personnel, I have not looked at that.
Okay.
Have you guys looked at that one? Did you have a chance to look at that one, Tyler?
Yeah.
You did? Okay. We can put that on, put it on for the next time you're back.
Yep, I'm here next time, but
Oh,
not
you're
the one
next
after
time? Oh,
that. Yep,
Let's do it then.
yep.
Okay?
Do we want to discuss it at least?
I'd rather read it first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
I just had some additions to it.
Without-
Do you have anything in addition to what you sent me already, Charlene?
Nope,
Okay,
just what I sent you.
okay.
Okay. So is the only other one for tonight the, board?
Yes.
Okay. Alrighty then.
Did we print Charlene's additions that came to me? Do you have that in your stack of,
I didn't print the personnel policy once it all.
no, the, rules of procedure? Do you have a set of, I remember printing those out, but I don't know how many I made.
2.5 pages,
Yeah,
that's what I have.
you don't have multiples of that though, right?
It's in there.
Yeah, everybody.
Oh, you do have it, okay, I'm sorry, yeah. Not the, we're not talking about the original document, but the stuff that we added on, that you didn't know. what it was.
This one refers to Barrington.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so this is the one that was provided as an example.
That's the rules of procedure, that's those are
Yeah.
some of my suggestions.
Oh, I see, okay. Okay, so they have not been incorporated,
Correct.
Right, more for discussion.
okay? Is the, is ours just 2 pages, Chris, or?
Yes.
All right. Should we add something about talking to the press? We have nothing about talking to the press.
So part of my thinking is, do you want discussion?
Yeah, I mean, we can take these one by one. Should we add language about talking to the press? What do you think about that, Chris?
Well, what would you add?
Something like that, it be either just you or the chair?
I don't think you can do that. I mean, you
I
can't
mean,
speak
in
for the full
relation-
board.
in
Yeah, a
relation-
board member can't speak for the full board, but a board member can certainly talk to the press, you know, about anything, you know.
But you can't do it for the full board because you have to have the consensus of the board before you go out and speak publicly.
Yeah, if you want to say that you're speaking on behalf of the board, then you need the board's blessing, but you
Right.
certainly
Yeah.
don't need the blessing of the board to state your opinion to the press, so however you want to.
So, I mean, maybe it should be stated that, like that any, you know, town-related, matters,
That would require a different section.
We have something on what one member can do as opposed to what,
you have
right?
you have the chair and the vice chair.
Where do you see that, Chris?
All we have is take action in section 2, third sentence. Speaks to that, what individuals can do as opposed to the full board. It doesn't speaking to anyone. It's just decisions and actions.
Yeah.
So we could add something there about speaking for the full board.
Well, you have the 1.3, it says refrain from communicating the position of the town or the select board to other entities, i.e. state, federal officials, so there's something maybe on there.
Which one's that, Tyler?
On section 3, the 1, 2, 3rd, 4th bullet down. Individual members of the select board is number 3.
I'm missing that.
Are you on the,
Second page, conduct with other select board members.
oh, that's in Charlene's.
Oh, so,
Not in
yeah,
the,
okay,
not in the
that's,
draft,
okay.
yeah.
yeah, I mean, maybe that,
Yeah, I mean, on that section 2 of the 3rd paragraph, I mean, you could say, the board may only take action by majority vote during a meeting legally in session. Individuals may take no action or decision without specific or authority of the full board, nor may they speak publicly on behalf of the board without specific authority of the full board.
unless they otherwise state that they're speaking as an individual, not as a
Well, I
board
said they
member.
can't speak, nor can they speak
Okay.
on behalf of the board,
Got it,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, under officers, the paragraph about the chair balancing for participation. I mean, I just don't know if that much is required. I mean, I think if you look at like conduct of meetings shall be conducted in accordance with the generally accepted practices of order and decorum. The chair shall preside over all meetings and set the terms of debate specific to the final authority. I think we could say something like, you know, the chair shall preside over all meetings and set the terms of, you know, fair and efficient debate. and then that kind of says that.
I'm good with that.
You good with that?
Yep.
You got
In
that?
terms of fair and efficient debate,
Yep.
okay.
Just while we're in that section, under, 3, the first item, regular meetings are held alternately Monday evenings, blah, 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 blah. Do we wanna be that specific in stating that meetings are on Mondays? In case for some reason, we all of a sudden, are you saying yes, we want to?
Or
Or,
I think you should not be day specific.
yeah, yeah, just in case for some reason the board decides it has to meet on Tuesdays instead of Mondays going forward.
Or you could add the word typically, are
Yeah,
held typically
Yep.
on alternating. Maybe you could say
yeah, I mean, I think
weekday,
you could just say, you know,
weekday evenings,
meetings are held bi-weekly,
yeah.
you know, as publicized or something like that, if you wanna put that.
Yeah, this is, what a lot of boards do with a document like this is, in their opening meeting after an election, you're electing officers, you're setting your meeting schedule,
Yep,
and you're reviewing and validating this so that everybody that's on that
Sure,
board in
I
that
think that's great.
moment
Yeah.
buys into that in
Agrees
a
to
way,
it.
so.
I think that's good,
That, I would envision that becoming part of your routine,
yes,
you know, just
Yes.
adopt them or whatever
Yeah,
you
yeah,
wanna call it,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
so you could, in that, you could refine that if you wanted to, but as with anything, if you wanna, you know, a new board's
Any
gonna
new
wanna
board
tinker
can.
with, gonna
Sure,
tinker
sure,
with any of
sure.
this stuff.
Sure, sure.
There's nothing that says we have to meet on Monday night, so.
okay. In that same section, the last paragraph,
Under the agendas,
members of the public shall provide a brief written statement containing the subject matter to be discussed or the area of concern. Any document or presentation materials must be provided to the town administrator. No later than the close of business on the Thursday prior. I mean, if we're gonna make that first alternating Mondays, a
you
little
need-
more generic, then you
yep.
could say, you
3
know,
days.
3 days prior,
business days.
yep.
Yep. The other thing in that particular paragraph, I wondered if we wanted to outline was, you know, they can provide a brief written statement containing the subject matter. Now, are we accepting that via email? You know, do we wanna specify that it can be handwritten and delivered to the town administrator or emailed to the town administrator? It just doesn't say how they should deliver it to us.
Yeah, someone could interpret it as having to write it out versus email.
I mean, maybe I'm overthinking that, so we can,
You could just say brief written statement, hard copy or email or
Yeah.
something like that. in
Yeah, we could do that.
parentheses.
in
Okay.
parentheses, hard copy or email.
Just one question, the paragraph above that, since we're changing the Thursday, should we change that Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlene, everything else that's on your sheet, is that new?
Yeah, so, and it's, language that I thought was good that Barrington uses.
Okay, so, since that's all new, let's go through, I just have a couple of
Yeah.
things first.
Yep,
Um,
rock and roll.
So conduct of meetings. Visitors may be permitted to address the board on any topic properly on the agenda. No person shall address the meeting without leave of the chair, and all visitors shall address the board through the chair. Is that last part necessary, that all visitors address the board through the chair?
it's good practice, and you see most bodies do that as a,
Get out of
it's
control,
polite.
don't.
And when you're appearing before a body, you're speaking to the body, you're not speaking to one member. So it's, the objective of that is to minimize the you member said X, Y, and Z. That,
Okay.
I think that's the point. And you see Congress doesn't talk to anybody but the chair. That's
Right.
you don't talk to other members while you're in
So that begs
session,
the question as to whether or not we really want to be like Congress.
No, that's the last place that but it's,
I mean, I don't know what you guys feel about it. It
Well, it's
felt-
kind of like in town meeting too, you're actually addressing
Talking
it
to the
through the
moderator.
moderator,
Yeah,
so.
I understand.
I
I
think
just-
it's kind of,
It felt a little too formal for our
yeah,
board.
it's a little formal, but I think it's pretty standard.
I think it's part of like Robert's rules too.
yeah, and what it allows you to do is, you can envision a situation where, people are talking in there's a whole lot of rules about this stuff, but there could be people talking in the room, and not being recorded in the minutes because it isn't part of the discussion that the chair is trying to manage.
Okay,
Or,
That's
it-
fine.
so in a way, if it doesn't go through the chair, it didn't happen.
okay, that's
It's
fine.
not part of the meeting, and that's an important cover for the body to be able to say, yeah, somebody said it, but it wasn't part of the
Okay,
discussion.
Fine, you got me.
Yeah.
Okay. Under officers, roles and duties of the chair, actually, under officers, at the first meeting and following swearing in of new members following town meeting, the board shall elect a chairperson and a vice chair. So, the historical tradition has been that, it's kind of like a rolling chairmanship, where the most senior member, who, when everybody is in a 3-year term cycle, becomes the chair.
Right.
And the next person down becomes the vice chair. That's gonna get a little more complicated with a 5-person board with varying, terms. So, I mean, do we want to address that in here at all, or do we want to just leave it as it is, that, you know, the board can elect a chair and vice chair using whatever method they want?
I mean, and what we could do in here is that, make a statement that typically the, most senior, whatever you wanna call it,
Yeah,
person sits as the chair and the second sits as the vice chair.
yeah,
But I think leave it up to the,
yeah,
to the
That's
board.
I'm not sure how the rollout works, but in not too many years, you're gonna have 2 people in that same
right,
senior slot.
right,
So then it would be a vote of who wants
This,
for.
in practice, that's gonna become a political question anyway. The election of
Yeah.
the chair is going to be a political act
right,
when there's 5 people here.
okay.
That's,
So that.
That's the
that
reality
whole-
of what's
That
coming.
whole historical thing is gonna go by the wayside, because,
it may come up in the discussion.
Yeah.
It may, you know, if you have
I
5
mean-
people that all get along and wanna follow that tradition, then great, but.
yeah, okay, so we can leave it this way. Under the roles and duties of the chairperson, third one, to receive and send correspondence on behalf of the board. Should we specify that, or do we want the board, to review and approve any correspondence coming from the chair on behalf of the board? If we're saying that the chair can't speak publicly, or can't represent the board publicly, then should that be the same comment on correspondence?
Yes, but there are things that, like those letters to the school kids, that you just need to crank out and
Right.
get done, so
Right.
you know, leave yourself some room to do
Yeah.
routine.
Yeah,
Yeah, anything approved, I think, in a meeting, if you're gonna send something out, it should come from probably you.
yeah,
And there's a bunch of forms and things that you have to sign as the chair that are just mechanics, they're not
yeah,
necessarily reflecting the, you know, the vote of the board or anything like that, so I just hate to see things bogged down
okay.
waiting
yeah,
for
I
a
get it,
token vote
yeah.
on something, so.
Would it be
other than-
more related to, like, could you put kind of to receive and send in correspondence on behalf of the board that are not policy and or legal or something like that, maybe?
Yeah, I was just thinking to send and receive, to receive and send routine correspondence on behalf of the board. That'll work. Okay, that was all I had. So Charlene, you wanna walk us through what you've got?
Yeah, and, you know, so I kind of felt like the policies and procedures was a little light, especially as we kind of start to go towards, you know, 5 board members and just kind of, experiencing kind of dynamics that happen and stuff. So, so I looked at a couple of other towns, and I saw Barrington's, I thought, had a couple of, things that I thought would be, that I wanted to get your folks' input on, and see what you folks thought, on it. So, I just copied and pasted it.
Okay, so enacted ordinances and resolutions. What's the point of that? I kinda don't understand it as I'm reading through it.
Well, like what we just kind of went through, so, just kind of describing how ordinances, you know, happen, that, you know, it's written that there's a final draft, then there's a public hearing, you know, so ordinances just don't come out of the blue. You know, there's a process that the select board goes through in
So
developing.
are you suggesting, are these two separate things, or is this a rewrite of that?
Well, the first kind of enacted ordinances and resolutions is just kind of an overall statement, and then the paragraph that's just labeled ordinances is more of the procedure.
Is this outlined anyplace else, Chris? Is this
In,
covered?
like in any RSAs?
Yeah, or in any other documents or policies that we have, or?
Not in anything we have. Ordinances, generally speaking, are, this is broadly speaking, the authority to create them comes from a specific RSA. Speed limits. There's a procedure laid out in the law how you ordain a speed limit. And the process for doing that is spelled out in the state law. There is no, you have blanket authority to manage the prudential affairs of the town, RSA
Yeah.
60, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And that's how you do most of your work, is through that authority. Ordinances generally are specific to something with a specific authorization in law. There's not a blanket, you can write ordinances about anything you want. And that's just a word choice as much as it is a power and authority thing. So I think clarifying the difference makes sense. In ordinances are special. Resolutions, I think in the
Yeah.
common use of the term, don't mean anything.
Right.
Policies they mean something internally.
Yeah,
So you just have to be careful not to step on state law, because you don't actually have the authority to do anything unless the state gives it to you. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with saying, like, one thing I like about this is that it's short, it's clean, it's easy to read and get through, right? It's not a bloated document. I mean, there could be a section here that is like other responsibilities of the board. And what you just said about prudently manage the affairs of the town, or something like that, like, that's not bad language to have in there. But then we could also do something, and there may be others that fit into this category, but it could be, something like introduce and something, ordinances as per whatever RSA it is that grants that. So that.
Well, there is no one, that's the thing. Ordinances, there's a scattering of authority given to you through,
Then you could just say as, per
as per,
applicable
yes,
RSAs.
yeah. And it may be that, and what we've tried to do in this policy, revision is to call things that are ordinances.
Yeah,
And that language comes from the RSA.
yeah,
Everything else is a policy.
yeah,
And that's an important distinction, and you will treat them differently. The law tells you how to handle an ordinance, and oftentimes it's just as it's written right here. Public hearing, notice, all those kinds of things.
What if we put something about, the board is expected to follow applicable RSAs and laws in the areas of ordinances, policies, whatever else fills under that?
Is all this, from, what do you say, Barrington, that's all these three
Yeah.
pages off?
Yeah.
They probably talked about the same thing, I imagine it's good. It refers to RSA 91A.
I mean, I wonder if we put ordinances in here as outlined, are there other equivalent things that we're not addressing, that are kind of like on that same level of ordinances? You know what I mean, like,
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think,
I think it's good.
I mean, you can call anything an ordinance that you want to, but just to be clean about it, it's best to,
so here's I guess here's a better example. So this outlines what our procedure
What a process
should
is.
be for ordinances, right?
The procedure.
If we're doing it for ordinances, should we not then include what our procedure is for budget development? Right? And hiring, or something like that, because if you're gonna do one, then shouldn't you do them all? And if you do them all, does that then
Blow it up.
blow it up?
I mean, if we do them all, yes, it will blow it up.
Yeah.
And my going through this, I was looking at more like what I see as, what becomes, hot buttons, yeah. Just trying to address clarification of.
are you worried that the process isn't clean enough, and so when something comes up, there's gonna be a fight about not only what the subject matter is, but how we address the subject matter? Is that what?
No, I think it was more, part of me is looking at this as kind of new board member coming on, not knowing, like, what's going on. And this is, in some ways, a document to help them understand. So, but, I mean, if it's,
No,
I'm proposing it, I'm not,
yeah. But what if we did like, what do you think about that idea where we have another section where, or we fit it in somewhere where it says, Board of Selectmen has responsibility for managing the prudent affairs of the town. For example, in the areas of, you know, per RSA's, including ordinances, policy development,
Budget,
budgeting, and whatever else we think
right,
goes there.
et cetera, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and just state it as not limited to or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, so responsibilities of the full board, since we've detailed all the responsibilities of the chair, then.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah.
And use that as a vehicle to define the various things like ordinances, policies.
We're not defining them, but
No,
we're
but-
just saying that they're under the
Those
authority
are-
of the board.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like that language about the ordinances, I like that as a description.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, I read that and I wonder if Barrington doesn't use the word ordinance more broadly
Then they should be.
than we have.
Yeah,
No, it may not, you know,
yeah.
maybe
I don't know.
legal and appropriate.
I mean,
it's just-
they name them, you know, cause so up above, they talk, well, those are policies.
Yeah, they have a list of enacted ordinances that they label policies.
Policy, yeah.
Right, so,
so.
are they a charter town?
I believe so.
Okay, so that's another difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Chris, I'm wondering, to your point, right, rather than put it in here, could we be using the website to kind of explain some of this a little bit more? So we've got this section that says policies and ordinances on the website. And there's a mix here, because there's zoning, subdivision, site plan, gravel pit, and trucking. But is the process generally the same for an ordinance, whether it's something like this or something that's coming out of zoning? Is the process the
No.
same?
No,
no, the ordinances that you just read off all come from specific RSAs with adoption language in the RSA.
Okay.
If you wanna adopt a site plan, this is in the RSA, it says this is how you do that ordinance. If you wanna do a speed limit, this is how you do that RSA, and there's legal postings and time waits, and in some cases there's publication or
and land use
public hearings.
land use goes to voters.
Okay, cause I
So
was,
Yeah.
zoning goes to voters.
cause I was gonna suggest maybe we might add another link in there that says,
This is how the
here's what the
process.
process is, you know? So that would be a difficult,
Yeah, because
Because they're also-
there's not one state law that says this is how you do an ordinance.
okay. Yeah, okay. Bad idea. And there's no one place they can refer to, because it's also different. There's no one RSA they can refer to, because it's
No.
all different, okay. So for that one, Charlene, are you okay for,
Yeah, it just list and then just kind of not limited to,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and,
okay,
cause otherwise you know, you could list lots of things and,
excuse me, complaints and suggestions to the board?
and this one I thought of because of the recent incident.
So, I actually like having a section here on that, because it's basically gonna say, how are we going to handle and respond to them? And rather than presiding officer, if we mean
Yeah,
chair, let's
yeah.
put chair. I like this, I would just like it to see it in less,
Words,
just because the tone is different than,
Right.
than this.
Right,
I'd
so
like
in
to
that-
see it in
in
our
our-
own,
Yeah, tone,
Tone.
not as formal.
yeah. So Chris, can you take a pass at adding that in?
Yeah, you don't have a mechanism for that. We have a mechanism for how you get on the agenda.
Okay,
And in practice, if somebody had something they wanted to talk to you about, they'd walk in at 6:30 and you'd say, hey, how you doing?
Right,
What about the
What do you
com-
wanna talk about? But
what about the
you don't,
complaint emails and letters that come in?
what about 'em?
Well,
How do-
what,
how do
what this
we-
is trying to do is establish a way that we would respond to those.
Yep.
so like some are administrative that come in that you can, that you just handle, right?
Oh, yeah, that's
So-
what you paid me for, yeah.
Yeah, so.
I don't
so
handle them all,
I think
but-
that's what number 2 is kind of getting to, is like, you know. So administrative ones, you know, the town administrator does,
If somebody had a complaint about plow damage,
right, Chris is gonna take care of that.
yeah. But give me the shorter English version of number 1. Charlie?
Okay, so that could be, we've got the posting down at the lake, right? Of who can use the lake,
Yeah.
right? Well, I guess that could be administrative too.
Could be administrative.
Although it's per the Board of Selectmen, right? I mean, so I would think of any policy-related ones.
Or ordinance related.
Or ordinance-related ones would come in, or budgetary, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean. Chris, are you seeing any, like, minefields in us addressing this in this document?
Well, you need to create a vehicle for people to talk to you other than on the agenda.
Right.
You need to,
Yeah,
or to prevent people from talking to you other than what's on the agenda. It's up to you.
yeah,
You know, a lot of towns have trouble with people just coming in and taking over a meeting
Right.
with complaints, and you don't have a mechanism for, other than the authority of the chair, for containing that.
Right. I think the other thing we might wanna, add to, that I just kinda thought of is, you know, if we're out and someone has a complaint, then, you know, I mean, right now, right, we go to Chris, but, you know, so then, you know, like, that comes to me right now, someone brings a complaint, I say, okay, thanks, you know, and then I try to formulate, is this a board issue, is this a Chris issue, does that need to be put on the agenda, you know, what kind of,
well, I mean, personally, if we're getting complaints from people, whether they're things he can solve or not, I kinda wanna know what they are.
yeah,
You know, I do wanna know what they are. Just as an FYI, what I'm wondering is if, in this section, we do something more like, you know, there are 2 ways or 3 ways to, wrong language, but 2 or 3 ways to submit complaints to the select board.
mm-hmm,
1, follow procedures for getting on the agenda, you know, and present concerns to the entire board. 2, send a letter, directly to the board or through the town administrator to the board, expressing, you know, detailing your concerns. And then making something like, the board will take every necessary step to address the complaint, or the board will attempt to address the complaint, either, you know, through the board as a whole, or through the town administrator, within a timely manner.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, that's generic, but still provides information on how people can submit complaints. What do you think of that?
Yeah, we'll have to work it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the gist, not behind it.
Yeah, I guess the other,
obviously.
yeah, I think you gotta be careful not to over policy it, because our
Right.
employees are responding to complaints about things all the time, and they just go
enough.
fix
Fair
it.
enough,
Right.
fair
You
enough.
know, they,
Right,
You could say complaints requiring the attention of the board.
yeah, and put it on the complainer to decide if it's worthy of, you know, if they don't get the satisfaction they want from the staff,
Yeah,
if it rises to that level,
Yeah.
then this is how you do it.
fair enough. If somebody comes in and
Um,
complains about Dawn, I don't wanna know.
and I think, I think, like, if someone has a suggestion about ways to do things, typically that person comes before the board and says, listen, I have this idea, or whatever, you know, usually.
If it's significant enough,
Right,
right? It's
right.
not like, you know, Dawn, I have a better idea for how you can file your important papers, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the stuff in here is good, though. I mean, it spells it out very clearly for someone to see that, I mean, like even the individual members of the board, no member can, he or she, her actions alone bind the select board or the town. I mean,
Right,
I know, I mean, just out in town, you see people, they ask you something, and I just say, oh, you can come to a meeting, or, you know, get hold of the press. I don't know. Just kinda-
You have to remember this, the audience for this document is really the board itself.
Yeah.
right,
Yep.
right.
You're right.
And how we operate, and I mean, I just, you know, you know, I think once we get into 5-member, board, yeah, it could be fine, it could be,
I think there's something in there about, the difference between kind of operational complaints and policy complaints.
Yeah, yeah,
A board member should get some guidance on that and be told, start here, and if that doesn't work, go here,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of thing.
yeah.
so, we'll leave it to you to
Okay,
brilliantly figure
Yeah,
out how
thanks.
to add that in.
yeah, okay.
So contact with other select board members and staff. I'm okay with 1 and 2 here.
Mm-hmm,
I'm okay with 1 and 2. I like that. I particularly like, you know, recognizing the administrative chain, not giving orders directly to town employees. I think those are good.
and I didn't look, but they must have some kind of chain of command in Appendix A on that first bullet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is written, this town administrator is a town administrator in a charter town.
Yeah,
This town administrator has the authority to hire and fire,
Okay.
which yours does not,
So,
so.
so what I would suggest to you, Chris, is I like the
but-
intent of that section.
Yeah,
So perhaps you could write it, or
yep,
provide something in a manner that's appropriate for our town,
yep.
okay? Number 3, I'm a little less sold on, just because we've already in a couple of places said, you know, can't speak on behalf of the board. So I kind of feel like that's covered there. number 4, the idea that, you know, all business of the town should be handled in public. I like the idea, you know, again, if you take it from the perspective of new people coming on, right? I like that idea of, you know, making it clear that we can't have side conversations. However, here's the interesting thing, right? With the 3-person, I mean, the idea is you can't have a majority.
Right,
On a 3-person board, that's
you
2.
can,
On 5, 2 people can get together.
right,
So I don't know how to word that, because I don't wanna suggest that it's okay for 2 people to get together and have conversations. Cause I still don't think we should be doing that.
If, on the first draft that you have for me, section 2, second sentence,
Oh, fine,
tries to do that.
I'm okay with that then, cause it spells it out in which, RSA it is. So I'm okay with that.
okay, so we're gonna we're not gonna do 3 or 4.
Right. And does, 91A address code of conduct, Chris?
No,
No,
Punishments?
no. And we don't have a code of conduct.
right.
There's no other, defined code of conduct for public officials?
No, yeah, that's slippery.
How much you need to
Yeah.
take a bribe to,
Um,
yeah, the rest
yeah,
of these I
lacking,
just.
lacking a code of ethics and enforcement mechanism to go with it,
Yeah,
Which we don't have.
which we don't have.
We don't have.
yeah, the rest of those, the 5, 6, and 7,
Yeah,
and, were kind of like, hey, this is what they've got, and,
yeah. So are you happy, Charlene, with the kind of like the edits we've
Yeah.
talked about?
yeah,
All right, so let's let Chris work on those, and then let's review that again when he has that.
yeah.
Great. Alrighty then.
Was that thunder and lightning, or was that like
Was it a transformer?
yeah, that's what I
I
thought.
don't know, our generator didn't kick. Sure sounded like a transformer. though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there are a number of people in town without power.
Today,
Saturday
yeah,
storm, right?
they were this morning, I think, somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't here this week. and I heard-
Eversource said they had,
Flip it on the lake, was there
Yeah,
a
on the-
microburst?
You know what, on the north end of the lake, on our end, we did get a storm, but, you know, not as bad as what I've heard from the north end. Alright, is that it on policies for tonight, Chris?
there's plenty.
So we'll do the cable TV
And personnel?
and personnel at next meeting?
Yeah, we can do those next meeting. I think that's good work, you guys. I think
Yeah.
That's really good.
Kept me busy,
Sorry.
not a problem, that's what I signed up
I
for.
did it all on the plane on Sunday.
I did it in New Jersey on the ride home from New Jersey.
Yeah,
And then when I got home today, I'm like, what's this?
I know, right? Okay, is there any other business that we need to cover in the public session? I think that is a no.
Now, let me just check to see if I had any other. I don't think I did. I had this questions for Chris document, which I sent him all.
And it's 140 pages long.
Oh, good morning, Chris. Guess what? Guess what I did yesterday? No.
We're gonna get Charlene a part-time job on Sundays.
Actually, we need, you know, I did forget to mention earlier, we're kind of half-heartedly looking for some fill-in help at the recycling center. If you know anybody that might be interested in a day here or there.
Okay.
Doing,
Just working at the center, you know, sorting things and guiding people and whatnot.
That'd be a great thing to
So,
post
yeah.
on All Nottingham. If you wanna send me some verbiage, I'll post it. Okay, anything else? Alright, so what do we, what letter?
91A, 3, 2D.
Okay. So, I will take a motion to go into non-public. When we come out of non-public, we'll be adjourning, because we've made it through our entire agenda. So we'll take a motion, and then we're supposed to do roll call, right? We're all supposed to say aye,
Yeah.
aye, aye.
Yes.
Okay.
so I'll make a motion that we, go into non-public per RSA 91(3):2,
91-A3,
A3, 2D. Right?
yeah.
I'll second that.
I'll take a roll call.
Here,
Say Tyler.
Tyler.
Charlene?
Okay, we're gonna go into non-public. We'll give